Okay, so I have another question for you. In the new publishing industry, and not only, there's a growing need of profiles, I mean, real people, who combine the technological capacities with a human creative capacity. What do you think about that?
Sorry, I'm not quite sure I understand the question. For example, give me an example of what you're talking about.
Um, in publishing, in the new way of publishing, for example, online books, online
Yeah.
content, it's not just about the creative, humanistic aspect. It's also about the technological part. You need more people who have that kind of mix. So, what do you think about this change?
Well, I think it makes access. I mean, people can do things now that used to be, Marx said it was the ownership of, power lied in those, the ownership of the means of production. So if you take it from the production being, he was talking mostly about industrial production, but in terms of media production as well. So, the ownership of the means of production, media production, used to lie in the hands of a media elite. What's happened now is that pretty much anybody can do it, and you can only see, we're talking about crowdsourcing a few minutes ago, and you just see what's happened with stock photos. Now you've got great technology that allows people who are not brilliant photographers but to take brilliant photography and through technology upload them to sites such as iStock and sell direct. So what technology does is shifting the ownership of the means of media production to media consumers or consumers. We prosume, we create text, we create blogs, we create our news feed. We're media creators, and technology allows us to spread good content, or gives the potential to spread good content far and wide. So I think you're making media more meritocratic. So you're starting to see authors, through self-publishing, through the Kindle. There are a few Kindleaires, or whatever they're calling them. People have sold a million books on the Kindle, self-publishing. If you got really, and you've got a highly networked society, and you've got the digital means of media production, then you just allow good content to spread virally, and you don't need these middlemen. So I think we're turning into a more meritocratic digital's making culture more meritocratic.
So do you think this actually brings us to the concept of social journalism in some ways, and for some aspects?
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, I think anybody who wants to get involved in outsourced journalism, or this sort of notion of social journalism, would do well to read the book Crowdsourcing, where Jeff Howe actually worked with a group of people trying to do exactly that, getting citizen journalists to come together to produce a magazine, to produce a sort of platform. And the whole thing was a complete disaster, because just like we were talking about the chicken things, it was too complicated. People will do things that the trick to crowdsourcing is to allow people to make money out of stuff they're doing already. Trying to get people to do new stuff, getting people to go out and report stuff. I mean, you run this, it's your successful site, but it's an effort, it's work. You can't you can't crowdsource this interview. It's got to be somebody who takes ownership. It's got to be done. Somebody who cares about it enough. So I think there are limits to the organizational capacity of citizen journalism or social journalism. So I think it's more in the organization, but as a way of getting great journalists to have a bigger digital footprint and work with better media outlets, I think it's absolutely fantastic. But I don't think we're going to see the rise of some kind of amateur or amateur journalism. Just, you wouldn't want a amateur brain surgeon to give you brain surgery. You don't want an amateur journalist to do an analysis of what's happening in the Middle East. You want somebody who knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, even though we were talking about Libya earlier, and actually most of the information initially came from Twitter users. So from that point of view, I think it can be a real change in the way we do information, especially in Italy. Because some journalists will only talk about the way they see things when they're influenced politically. So when that happens and you don't have real information from journalists who do that for a living, then social media can become a real source of information, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think it's the quality of the information, whether it's genuine or not. I think you make a good point that there are certain political imperatives about what a journalist can or cannot say when he's being paid by a media outlet that has certain political views, has certain political persuasions. So you're going to get, whatever's going to happen, you're going to get an edited version. What you get with social networks and the so-called sort of Twitter revolutions, you're getting unedited stuff. But there's also no quality control, and there is so much information out there. Then a challenge to actually filter it and get relevant, trustworthy information. So I think, at least to a certain extent, it's better the devil you know than the devil you don't. So at least when you know you're reading a slightly right-wing Italian newspaper, that you're going to get right-wing politics in there, and you're going to be able to discount it. When you're getting it from Twitter, you don't know whether it's true or it's not true. You don't know the political allegiances of the people there. You don't know why they're saying it's out of context. It's in Teletubby thinking, so it's got to be in 140 characters, and there's a reason why philosophers never really talked in 140 character things, because you can't string thoughts together, you can't build arguments. It's just there is I'm quite, my personal conviction is that Twitter is great for people who like making t-shirt slogans. If you have a bumper slogan on your car or t-shirt slogans, that's great, but you're not going to change the world with it. I think it's so I'm actually quite skeptical of the power of social media, apart from an initial sense of wow, we can do this, to actually go beyond the burst of energy into something where you can actually manage and control and organize any kind of social event or even social organism.